Hey Mia, how are you doing?
Hi, Erwin. How are you? I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today and talk with us today. I know you're busy, and I think what's really cool is I want to tell everybody, you're one of the folks that, I've been advising, mentoring, and I feel like your journey and trials, tribulations, successes, failures, challenges, these are things that would be great to share with the folks. One of the things that really you and I have been talking with here for some time now is what you have going on with Braids Tribe and things you've done and things you're passionate about, right? And I really wanted to dive into this and allow others to hear your story and things that are close to you and passionate to you, right? So, for me, I I find it fascinating because here you were at the beginning and you've done other things before, but you've also wanted to push this new business, this new venture, this new passion, and things that you've taken from what you've learned from owning your own stores virtually, and you're doing these things. So, what was the origin story of this new venture? How did this come about for you?
Yeah, so thank you so much for being my mentor. So I really appreciate that. I just want to say that. And of course, I'm happy to be here and to have this chat with you. So, as far as my origin story, I'm originally from Cameroon. I was born in Cameroon. And for those of you who don't know, it borders Nigeria. It's not in the Caribbean. So, I started before I immigrated here. I immigrated to the US at age 12. When I was 10 years old back in Cameroon, my aunt had a salon and I used to go there and hang out and help out. And I started learning how to braid at age 10. And then eventually I came to the US and I continued braiding. I've been braiding really throughout my life. When I was in high school, even I have like siblings, I was their braider in high school. Even when I was in the army, I was like the braider on post. So throughout my life, I've just been braiding. But I honestly never really thought that I could make anything out of it. I really never took it serious as some sort of a career, or because I coming from an immigrant family. They encourage you to go to college to become a doctor or a lawyer or something, important like that. So I never really thought that I could really make a business out of braiding. I learned how to code. I started learning about 2022. So still in the middle of the pandemic, a little bit coming out of it. I started learning, and then I completed a boot camp, a 6 month boot camp. And after that boot camp, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, as far as, do I want to get a job in corporate America? Do I want to just start my own business and do my own things? So I thought about it and I was like, actually, I want to create an app. Um, because like I said, I had been braiding throughout life and everything. And I also had like my braid social media, and I had been growing that as well. I had clients. I still have a few clients, like maybe one or two that I really like. But I learned how to code, and then I decided I wanted to create this braiding app to really help women, Black women specifically, or women that are into braiding, just to learn how to braid their hair, to learn how to take care of their own hair, just to be able to love their hair naturally as it grows from their head and feel beautiful. And throughout, I've seen like what a beauty transformation can do to someone. It really can like impact your life. I've had someone tell me that I changed their life when I did their hair. So I know that there's like, it builds your confidence and it just makes you just such a better person when you feel beautiful. It like lifts up your self-esteem. It just translates in all the other aspects of your life.
Right.
So I created this app, and then it launched about 6 months ago, and now I'm on this new journey where I'm learning what it is to be a beauty tech founder and navigating all those everything that comes along with that.
And I think the interesting thing for me I love is you you're passionate about it, right? You impacting lives. One of the things that a lot of folks are not aware of, right? And I know this because I've had friends that have some, guys and girlfriends that are just are into braids and it looks great, right? And braiding's like I consider braiding's an intimate, art, right? Scientific,
Absolutely.
culturally significant, right? And you've
Absolutely.
done this great job, in my opinion, of translating that vibe into this digital user interface, right? That I've already seen.
Yes.
There's a thing that I'd love to know more. Like, what was the hardest part about explaining the specific needs of braiders, so people that didn't understand the craft, that they like it, but they didn't know the how to, which is where, Braid Stripes comes in.
So as far as translating, I wanted the Braids Tribe app to be a place where women can feel confident in coming to learn, like a no judgment zone where you can come and learn how to do your hair, especially with the black women in the black community. We usually struggle with our hair is different from, the it's very different. It grows upwards and it needs a lot of it takes a lot of time and
Yeah.
care to really have to really get it to like flourish and grow. So I really wanted it to be a place where you can come, you can watch videos and learn how to do your own hair through watching the video tutorials. You can also what we're doing now is we're doing monthly braiding classes where you I do like it's like live and you can ask me questions, you can braid along with me. I show you techniques and tips and tricks and things like that just to be able to do your own hair and to empower it empowers you to be able to do your own hair to take care because it's part of your hair is part of your body and it's self-care. So it's important that we learn how to take care of our whole body from our hair to our toes.
Yeah, yeah. And what's really neat with what you just said is you do these things where it's monthly, weekly, and you have these classes, right? So as most of us know, as building an app is 10% coding, 90% is getting people to use it, right? That's just kind of the analogy we use. And obviously that's a made up number, but you've obviously won the trust of people that are stylists, people that are just regular folks like me, and you were able to get them to use it through obviously social media. You were getting these direct messages. You're marketing it out. What would be great for me to understand is, what would you say from a discovery standpoint was the most surprising piece of feedback you received from user or users that change the direction of the app or the business? That would you say like would be the top one or two things?
That's a good question. I think that what surprised me the most is so I know how to braid, but knowing how to braid and knowing how to teach how to braid, it's two different things. So there have been some questions that I get during the live session that I have to like step back and think about how I want to answer it because it's really nothing that I've honestly thought about myself, especially because I'm teaching it from like beginner level and I'm not so I'm teaching it so if you never braided before I can teach you how to braid, but there are techniques that I use to teach you how to braid as a beginner that I don't necessarily use as a professional or that, it's not needed as a professional. It's just a way like tricks to kind of learn to build your confidence so that when you practice enough and you get better, you get to that point where you no longer need those techniques and tricks. So I think that's been like one of the surprising things having to explain. I can give an example. So braid one of the techniques that I teach for braiding is called the rubber band method, where you use rubber band to help you anchor the braiding hair onto your hair. And so someone asked me a question in the class, like they said, "Well, how would you hide the rubber band?" I never really thought about that because, like mentioned, when I'm braiding, I usually don't really use a rubber band, but it's a technique that a beginner can use. So I had to think about, okay, so how would you hide it? Because you don't want it to look as if you're using it, but it's there, it's underneath there. So I had to kind of quickly think on my feet. And you use the braiding hair that's there. You use the tool that's there, which is the braiding hair that you're adding on to your natural hair. You use that to cover it with to hide the rubber band. So it was just as simple as that.
Yeah. And then that's a great example of just the value and the benefit of things, right? And that's part of the discovery, part of you're going through understanding what people are saying to you. You're going through listening to feedback. You're going through and listening every time, every day. And that's part of customer acquisition and the pivot points that we talk about in business, right? And it's valuable for listeners who are struggling to find their own early adopters in their own business, right? That they're trying to do. And and I know that, for me, it's still a journey, right, Mia? So what would your advice be to people who are going through this early journey, who are starting businesses or a business? Because right now you're early on, like you said, you're about 6, 7 months in. Um, what's your advice for folks who kind of question, I don't know if I want to do this. I want to keep going through this because none of this is easy. All this is challenging. It takes time. It takes time from personal life, takes time from other things for people that are moonlighting, having day jobs. What would your advice be to some of the other folks who are starting up in the shoes you're in now?
Yeah, that's a good question. My answer now, I can imagine that the way I respond to this now would be different from the way because I'm still only like 6 months in. I'm still like a fish out of water myself. But I would say that, just go for it. I mean, we have, we only have this one life. And for me, it's like I don't want to be when I'm 80 or 90 or even laying in my deathbed because we all eventually die. I don't
Right.
want to have to regret that there was this something that I wanted to do and I didn't go for it. So go for it. It's gonna be hard, but just do it. And it's just a matter of doing it, waking up every day and just doing it even when you don't feel like it, even when it feels like everything sucks. So definitely just go for it. Get it done. Do it messy. Just get started. And eventually,
Mm,
you know, the hope is that eventually you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So at some
yeah.
point.
And I'm honestly the message here, right? I mean, and this is what I want to close with, right, today, is it's having founders resilience, right, Mia? And, I want to take that time to acknowledge that the weight of what you're carrying, right? Like being a founder is often painted as like the series of launch days and celebrations, but the reality is much quieter and often much harder, which a lot of people don't understand. It's the late night bugs, issues, calls, people you're working with, the moments of self-doubt that you just mentioned when the growth slows and the exhaustion of being the person everyone looks for answers to. It's like, but business ownership, especially one like Braids Tribe, isn't about a product, it's about the legacy. It's a legacy. You're building infrastructure. You're an industry that has often been overlooked by other industries, other areas. And every time it gets tough, remember the struggle isn't a sign that you're failing, right? It's the friction that happens when you're breaking new ground, right? When the path
Absolutely.
gets steep, it's because you're climbing towards, you know, so a view that very few people get a chance to reach or don't ever get a chance to see. So think of that, right, Mia? And don't give up on the days when it feels heavy. The tribe you're building is proof that your vision is necessary, and keep persevering because your resilience is the heartbeat of this entire platform. And that's my message to you. That's my message to others. So hang in there. You got this. And I want to thank you again, Mia, for the time to at least share your journey, your story, where you're at today, and I appreciate you and thank you again, for making the time today.
Absolutely. Thank you as well for, agreeing to mentor me. I look forward to learning more and more from you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to help me out on this journey.
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. Anytime. Great person. Thank you, Nate.